Magic, White and Black, the Science of Finite and Infinite Life. Chapter 2, The Real and the Unreal. Allah, Bismillah. God is one. Quran. Everywhere in the broad expanse of the universe we see an almost infinite variety of forms belonging to different kingdoms and species and exhibiting an endless variety of appearances. The substance of which those forms are composed may, for aught we know, consist essentially of the same primordial material forming the basis of their constitution. Although the qualities of the various bodies differ from each other, it is far more reasonable to suppose that this one primordial eternal essence exists and appears in the course of evolution in various forms than to believe that a number of different original substances have come into existence either by being created out of nothing or otherwise. What this primordial essence, this immaterial substance, is we do not know. We only know of its manifestation in forms which we call things. Whatever finds expression in one form or another is called a thing, and a thing may change its form and the substance remain. Water may be frozen into solid ice or be transformed by heat into invisible vapor, and vapor may be chemically decomposed into hydrogen and oxygen, yet, if the necessary conditions are given, the energies which previously formed water will form water again. The forms and attributes change, but the elements remain the same and combine again in certain proportions, regulated by the law of mutual attraction. As this hypothetical primordial substance or principle has no attributes which we can perceive with our senses, we do not know the real substance of a thing. We may gradually deprive a thing of some of its attributes and change its form, and yet it remains that thing as long as its character remains. And even after we destroy its form and dissolve its materials, the character of the thing still remains as an idea in the subjective world where we cannot destroy it. We may clothe the old idea with new attributes and reproduce it under a new form on the objective plane. A thing exists as long as its character exists. Only when it changes its character does it change its essential nature. A material thing is only the symbol or the representation of an idea. We may give it a name, but the idea remains hidden behind the veil. If we could, on the physical plane, separate a single substance from its character and endow it with another, then, well, one body could be transformed into another. As, for instance, base metals could be transformed into gold. But unless we change the character of a thing, a mere change of its form will only affect its external appearance. We do not perceive the stick itself, we only see its attributes, its extension and color and density. We feel its weight and we hear its sound if we strike it. Each of these attributes, or all of them, may be changed, and it will remain a stick for all that as long as its character is not lost. Because you see, that which essentially constitutes its character is its purpose, an idea which has not a definite form. Let us endow that formless idea with a new purpose that will change its character, and we shall have transformed our ideal stick into anything we choose to make of it. We cannot change copper into gold on the physical plane. We cannot change a man into a physical child, but we may daily transform our desires, our aspirations, tastes, and our character if we conceive of a new purpose of life. In doing this, we make of man, even on the physical plane, a different being. Nobody ever saw a real man. We only perceive the qualities which he possesses. Man cannot see himself. He speaks of his body, his soul, his spirit. It is the combination of the three which constitutes the sum of his attributes. The real ego, in which his character rests, is something unknown, whose nature becomes conceivable to us only when we divine the purpose of its existence. As an idea and for a purpose, he enters the world of matter, evolutes a new personality, obtains new experience and knowledge, passes through the pleasures and vicissitudes of life and through the valley of death, and enters again into that realm where in the course of ages his outward form will cease to exist, to appear again in such a form upon the scene when the hour for his reappearance strikes. His body and personality change, his purpose, and therefore his ego remains the same and yet not the same, because during life it acquires new attributes and changes its characteristics. A true appreciation and understanding of the essential nature of man will show that the repeated reincarnation of the human monad in successive personalities is a scientific necessity. How could it be possible for a man to develop into a state of perfection if the time of his spiritual growth were restricted to the period of one short existence upon this globe? If he could go on and develop without having a physical body, then why should it have been necessary for him to take a physical body at all? It is unreasonable to suppose that the spiritual germ of a man begins its existence at the time of the birth of the physical body, or that the physical parents of the child could be the generators of the spiritual monad. If the spiritual monad existed before the body was born and could develop without it, what would be the use of its entering any body at all? We see that a plant ceases to grow when its roots are torn from the soil, and when they are replaced into the soil, the growth continues. Likewise, the human soul, for the purpose of attaining self-knowledge, takes root in the physical organism of man and develops a character. But when death tears out the roots, the soul rests and ceases to grow until it finds again a physical organism to acquire new conditions for continued growth.